Hello, how's everybody doing today? As per usual, I'm your host, RichieT, also known as RichieT, coming at you live. Today with a different format than I've been playing as of recently, but still Magic the Gathering, and still hopefully some great content. Today I'm going to be playing some Pioneer Satyrs, is what I've referred to the deck as. It's a deck I found on YouTube from the creator known as Magic AIDS, actually. Not the best name, but he's a really innovative deck builder. Notable things he's done is he came up with both humans and hardened scales before they were really major decks. And so he's a pretty innovative deck builder, definitely comes up with some solid decks, and definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to the deck building side. And he made this deck and played it in a video recently, and it seemed really sweet and something I really wanted to try, so I figured we'd give it a try here on stream. So let's go over it, shall we? The mana base is pretty straightforward. We have 4 Stomping Grounds and 4 Rootbound Crags for our green cards. Then we have 2 Castle Embereth to get in some extra damage, and then just a buttload of mountains to complete our 19 land mana base. So we are an aggressive deck, so we do have a good amount of 1-drops. Notably, we have 4 Firedrinker Satyrs as a 1 mana 2/1 Satyr to combo with Gallia, but also it has its own pump ability to get stronger. And then 3 Bowmat Couriers to try to find some extra cards. It's a 1-drop with haste. Just can get in a lot of value as the game goes on. The next part of this deck is we have a small Legends package, as you can see here. We have 4 Zergo Bow Strikers. It's basically a Goblin guy that doesn't have haste, but has dash instead. 3 Carry Zevs, which are really... It's actually a really good 2-drop, surprisingly. I know it doesn't seem that great, but it's essentially a 3/4 for 2 mana with First Strike and Menace on part of it. But it also just goes wide and has multiple bodies. We have the 4 Gallia, as mentioned. This is kind of where the Satyrs part of the deck comes in. It's a 2 mana 2/2 with haste. Other Satyrs get +1/+1 and have haste. We have a couple different Satyrs, Firedrinker Satyr, as long as the card we'll get to next. And then, notably, whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you may discard a card at random. If you do, draw 2 cards. So this card can give us a lot more fuel. Kind of a good engine card in the deck. The other legendary creature in the deck is Anax, Hardened in the Forge, which is a 3 mana X3 where X is your devotion to red. That's why most of our deck is red permanents. He can get kind of big. But the big thing with him is whenever he or another non-token creature you control dies, you create a 1/1 Satyr creature token that has this creature can't block, and if the power is 4 or greater, you create 2. So that's where the Satyrs come pumping in. He also just helps give you a little extra late grind. Late grind is an extra legendary, and is really the top end of this deck. But the reason why we're playing these 4, 8, 12, 15 legendaries is we're also a Mox Amber deck. So the reasoning behind Mox Amber is if we ever go turn 1 Zergo, it gives us 3 mana on the next turn, which lets us go like Gallia, Firedrinker Satyr, or any 1-drop, plus some of our cards we'll get to in a minute. So it really helps turn this deck into about a turn faster than what it normally would be. And along with Mox Amber, we have the Burning Tree Bushwhacker package, which Mox Amber works really well with, as it's essentially another 3 more copies of Burning Tree Emissary, because it's a 0 mana way to trigger Surge on Bushwhacker. And Bushwhacker can really help push out a lot of damage, especially when we get some tokens off Anax, or if we go like Zergo, Mox Amber, Firedrinker Satyr, or Bowmat Courier, and then we go turn 2 Burning Tree Bushwhacker or 1-drop Bushwhacker, that's a lot of damage you're looking to get in early. And then we do have a little bit of reach in this deck. We're on 4 copies of collateral damage. It works pretty well with Firedrinker Satyr. If they ever block it, you sack it, steal deal 3 to something, you don't lose life. It's the closest thing to Lightning Bolt we have in this format, and I'm curious to see. Again, it's what Magic AIDS was playing, so I figured I'd give it a try. But then we have 4 Atarka's commands, which is really the bread and butter of this deck, along with like the Burning Trees, because it's a good card to put into play off Burning Tree. It gets in a lot of damage when we go wide with our Anaxes or multiple 1-drops. And it's also a way to stop life gain, which this deck can have a problem with. With like the Heliod combo deck, Atarka's Command just stops that deck cold. So that's our main deck. As for our sideboard, we have 3 Searing Bloods for smaller creatures, 3 Rending Volleys for blue and white creatures like Spell Queller, 3 Cinder Vines for the combo decks such as the Lotus Field deck, 2 Grafdigger's Cages to stop that deck as well as Dredge, 3 Phyrexian Revokers for troublesome permanents like the Jace Wielder of Mysteries or Ashiok or Gideon of the Trials. You know, whatever Planeswalker or permanent is really grinding us out. And then 1 Xenagos the Reveler as a little grind factor, and it notably makes Satyrs, which works really well with Gallia. So that's the deck, but before we hop into our match, as per usual, I want to hop over to momsbasementgames.tcgplayerpro.com and tell you guys to pick up your singles from there. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. But yeah, you should buy your singles from momsbasementgames.tcgplayerpro.com. They have the best singles, as well as links to all of our content. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can check down in that description box below. But try to find us on Twitch at some point and interact with us. It's always a great time. On top of that, if you're looking for any other forms of social media to find us on, you can find us on Facebook at Mom's Basement Games and give us a like. Give us a follow on Twitter at Mom's Basement MTG. Or you can hop back over to our YouTube channel after watching this video, where you can find the best Standard, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander, Pauper, Pioneer, Vintage Cube, and Draft content. On top of that, I would super appreciate it if you gave me a follow on Twitter. My Twitter's at RichieTMTG. I talk magic, music, memes, League of Legends, Legends of Runeterra. Anything else you want to talk about, hit me up. I'm always willing to chat. And if you're looking for other forms of social media to find us at, you can find us on Instagram at Mom's Basement Games, or you can find me on Instagram at RichieT2196. But with that, how about we hop on into our league, shall we? Let's try to find ourselves a match with Pioneer Satyrs. This deck looks really sweet. That's why I wanted to play it on stream after I seen the video with it. I knew, like, as soon as I seen this deck, I knew this was what I was playing this week. It just seemed really sweet. It seemed really aggressive. And I really like all of the angles that this deck attacks from. Alright, so we lost the die roll, sadly. But we do have a really good hand. There it goes. So we don't have a turn 1 play. But we get to turn 2 Gallia, and then we can turn 3 Moxamber Reckless Bushwhacker. So I think this hand's still a keep. Hopefully we draw a 1-drop for turn. Hit our opponent with the GLHF. We could always Amber Bushwhacker and then do this to set up Gallia Bushwhacker on the next turn. Looks like we're against the Orzhov Enchantments deck. Curious to see how this matchup goes. This card's really good. Keeps the fuel going for our opponent. Come on, 1-drop. Daddy needs a 1-drop. That's not a 1-drop. Alright, so we're just going to play our Stomping Grounds tap and pass here. We might end up having to use this collateral damage on turn 2, depending on what our opponent does. If not, we might just Amber Bushwhacker, so that way we can try to be closer to Bushwhacker or Gallia Bushwhacker on turn 3. Cartouche of Solidarity. And the ethereal armor. Yikes. I imagine this is kind of a rough matchup for us. They have a good life-linking body. And they suited up out of our range pretty fast. Alright. Rootbound Crake for land for turn. And because... So we could surge out a Bushwhacker here. Or we could go Gallia, hold up collateral damage. And then also potentially have Anax or Bushwhacker next turn. I think we want to just do the Bushwhacker this turn. Because next turn we can Gallia Bushwhacker and that's more damage. Attack for 2. Anax will hopefully be big enough to... Well, this is first strike, so it'll never actually kill that. I guess it's not really Orzhov Bogles. Their creatures don't really have hexproof. It's more just I think it was like Orzhov Saram is what the deck was actually called. Because you're really built around Saram for the most part. You have a surprisingly good amount of card advantage in this deck. We're going to take 10 here. Our opponent's going to gain 8. Don't really see us winning this game. I think this is kind of just like a rough matchup for our deck, too. Alright, what do we draw? We draw Zergo. Well, better late than never, I suppose. I don't really see a way we win this game. So I'm actually just going to concede so we can hide information. It's possible I was even supposed to just like concede before playing the Mox Amber. Don't really think we want to grind this deck out. I think we actually want, unlike Bogles, we actually want removal in this matchup. Revoker doesn't seem great. Cage doesn't seem great. Rending Volley's a debate. What do you think about Rending Volley, chat? I actually think Bomat's really bad here because their deck's really built around 1/2s. What else do we want to take out? I don't want to take out too many 1-drops because we still want to be aggressive, especially on the play. I think Carry Zev is actually pretty bad here. Maybe we trim a Mox Amber, trim an Anax because we took out a good amount of legendaries. I'm not actually sold on these Rending Volleys. Maybe we'll take these out, bring back in a couple Bomats to be a little more aggressive. I think I like that. What do you think about this, chat? Got our Cinder Vines to deal with enchantments. Maybe we actually take out another Anax and bring back in another Bomat. It still leaves us with 4, 8, 9, 10 legendaries. It's kind of light. Maybe we take out another Mox Amber. Bring in a Rending Volley. Yeah, I can see this. Yeah, we're going to try siding like this, I think. I think on the draw we might take out the... This hand really needs a second land to function. But if we find a second land, it's going to be pretty hard for our opponent to beat us. I'm going to keep. This is kind of a risky keep. What up, Moa Panda? We're against the black-white Saram Auras deck. I actually think this matchup's like pretty bad for us. Our opponent mulligans down to 6. I actually ended up like boarding out a lot of our legendaries because they can't really attack that great. And ended up boarding out a couple Mox Ambers because of it, which might be wrong. Like, we might just still want the Mox Ambers. Our opponent starts with a Thoughtseize. Well, joke's on you, opponent. My hand is good, but you can't Thoughtseize the thing I want, which is a land right on top of my deck. I think our opponent probably takes... I think the choices are like Collateral Damage, Cinder Vines, or Burning Tree Emissary here. If I were them. I think I'm taking the Burning Tree Emissary. But I can very well see taking the Cinder Vines or Collateral Damage. The Collateral Damage is kind of like a take if you expect me to not hit lands. Okay, yeah, the Burning Tree is definitely the safe take. Come on, land. That's not a land. We'll attack for 2 and pass. Kind of one of the things we knew could happen with this hand. We really need to find a land, and maybe it's why you can't afford to board out many Mox Ambers. It's just because they're like pseudo land drops. So maybe I was only supposed to board out like 1 Mox Amber. Even though I don't have quite enough legendaries for the deck. Which is also just like a thing to think about. Maybe this deck's only supposed to play like 2 Mox Ambers. Chooses to take the Gallia this time. Come on, land. Ugh, that's not a land. I really need a land deck. Attack for 2, pass the turn again. Our opponent seems like they kept kind of a more reactive hand. And boarding in Thoughtseize was definitely a mistake on their part. Or leaving Thoughtseize in, whichever it was. Come on, give me a land. Papa needs a land. Yeah, 19 lands might be a little greedy for this deck. Maybe you go down to like 2 Mox Ambers and play a 20th land. Opponent might have kept a pretty reactive hand, not knowing what we were doing. Takes the Cinder Vines this time. Land. Wow. Wait, what? Thought we were about to skip through our combat somehow. I also think this deck might just need a little more green mana. So maybe you're supposed to play some number of... Alright, well this feels bad, but we're gonna... sack our creature to kill theirs. Oof. Alright, we really need a land off the top. Wow. kind of unfortunate. Yeah, I think this deck definitely wants some at least one more land in the deck. Oh my gosh. We're so dead. Our opponent is at 6. Not for long, unfortunately. Yeah. We just kind of never drew another land, which is like the risk of keeping that one lander, but I think it's the correct call. Alright, we found another opponent. How many mountains? 1, 2, 3, 4. 9 mountains. It's possible we're just supposed to play like 2 mana confluences in this deck. Alright, yeah, this hand seems good. Got a couple 1-drops, a Bushwhacker, and Anax for the later game. We're going to go ahead and lead on this Mountain, Bowmat, Courier, and attack. Get the trigger on Bowmat. Looks like we're against some green-black deck. Llanowar Elves, not a surprising turn 1. Alright, well, I think Carry Zev is going to be the better play here. And then I don't really want to sacrifice my Bowmat. Actually, yeah, I'll offer a Bowmat for a Llanowar Elves. Their ramp is probably more important here. It's possible this deck could also want like some number of like wild slashes. Maybe these should even just be wild slashes, who knows. Looks like they're playing the green-black Stompy deck. Well, we're just gonna go ahead and bushwhack it up. Just getting our damage before our opponent plays a chunky boy. The next turn we have the collateral damage up to hopefully kill the Lovestruck Beast. Makes sense. Looks like our opponent's missing their 3rd land. They play a Scrap Heap. We'll go ahead and play an Anax. Which next turn we get to play this other one. But our opponent seems to be done. So we get to go on to sideboarding against green-black Stompy. Rending Volleys don't seem good here. Neither do Grafdigger's Cages. I like Searing Blood on the play. I don't know about it on the draw, though. Cinder Vines doesn't really seem like where we want to be. Neither does Phyrexian Revoker. Xenagos seems kind of slow. I think we actually resubmit our game 1 and just try to like. I think this is a race, so I think this is how we want to be on the draw. Because we can't really interact with their Llanowar Elves that well with the Searing Bloods. But on the play, I think Searing Blood is good to try to kill their Llanowar Elves. Alright. I I think we really need a 1-drop in this matchup. Sand just doesn't really do anything aggressive. So we're going to go ahead and mulligan. Yeah, this hand seems a lot better to me. Go ahead and keep. We'll put one of these lands to the bottom. One of the other awkward things with collateral damage is the fact... Ooh, that was a really good draw. Can Burning Tree Bushwhacker next turn. But as I was saying, one of the other awkward things about collateral damage over like Wild Slash or Shock is the fact that you can't really cast it as a turn 1 removal spell. Go ahead and Surge out Bushwhacker. Hopefully draw a green source next turn for Atarka's Command. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 8. Fatal Push on Burning Tree. Yep. Take 5. Then 3 mana is when the deck really gets to start doing what it wants, which is playing big creatures. What you got, opponent? Opponent's really in the tank about what to play, it seems like. They go with the Rotting Regisaur. So we can attack... Let's see. How much damage can we actually get in here? So they block this. And then we... 3, 6, we can 9. Which puts them down to 6. But we take 7. We take 7 again, go to 7. Or we can Atarka's Command to deal 3 +1/+1. And then sack our Bushwhacker to kill this. But then we have 1 card in hand and they have 4. I think as bad as it feels, we actually just pass this turn. Kind of just like let them feel the pressure of this Rotting Regisaur. Discard a Llanowar Elf. They play a Sirach, which means they're probably going to give it haste. And then no attacks. Alright, well, since we drew another Atarka's Command, we're just going to pass with the plan to Atarka's Command the end of turn. Or we're just going to die. Alright, so as I was mentioning, I think the only thing that changes is we bring in Searing Bloods. Rending Volleys still don't do anything. Cage still doesn't do anything. Cinder Vines doesn't really do much. Revoker doesn't do much. And Xenagos doesn't really do much. So what do we take out for the Searing Bloods? I think we probably trim like an Anax. A carries of. Yeah, we're against green-black monsters now. I think they were asking round 1 what we were against. What's the last card we take out here? Maybe we trim... It's an awkward to figure out the last card. Maybe we just trim a Mox Amber. But the Mox Amber starts seem a lot better. I think maybe we just like trim another Anax. I think that's just kind of low on the legendary count. So I think we're going to trim a Mox Amber. I think one of these Mox Ambers is probably supposed to be a land. Alright, game 3. This is a great hand. We're going to keep. Get to go Zergo into Burning Tree Bushwhacker. And then if we hopefully find a green source, we get to Gallia post that. Alright, so Mountain, Zergo, Bell Striker, Sago. Our opponent did take a mulligan. And they do have the elf. Does Mox Amber change anything? I don't think so. I think we still just want to be as aggressive as possible. I think when we drew the Mox Amber, we're supposed to Burning Tree out Gallia, because then we can use the Mox Amber to play the Bushwhacker next turn. Hopefully we draw a green source. Alright, so we're kind of punished for my sequencing, actually. I was thinking the Mox Amber would make mana still, but... we don't actually have a green we don't have a green legendary in play. Yeah, I agree. I think this mana base is a little awkward. That Scoos is really good. Yeah, I think this deck probably wants some number of mana confluence. I just think the Gruul mana base is awkward in general. So if we had played Gallia instead... We're still in kind of an awkward spot because of all these Scavenging Oozes, but we're definitely in a better spot. This just also seems like a really rough matchup. Anything with like a bunch of creatures seems kind of hard for us. Alright, So Gallia. Mox Amber. Do we attack? I don't think so. I think we wait and see if our opponent attacks with anything here. Opponent makes 3 green. That's pretty good. Alright, well. We can cast anything we draw. Let's go ahead and Atarka's command our opponent here. And we draw for turn. Another Atarka's command. Alright. Where's deal 3? Creatures get +1/+1. We're going to try to draw 2 burn spells off Gallia. Or potentially just... really anything better than this, because this is pretty bad. Yes, I would. That, however, is not very good. Discard Gallia, draw 2 Zergo Bowstrikers. I assume we lose like our Gallia and our Bushwhacker here. Interesting. Alright, this is fine for us. We get to play out another Zergo after this. Like, if there was a good block for us, I feel like it's this. I think it's going to be kind of hard to outrace this Scavenging Ooze and Great Henge. Opponent was thinking about gaining some life, but is now reconsidering. I will declare no blocks. They're going to grow the Skoos by 3, I assume, here. And we take 8 down to 10. Yeah, any deck that plays creatures bigger than ours at about the same speed is going to be a rough matchup, I think. I think we're just dead, right? Yeah. Rough draws there at the end. We really needed to hit big off that Gallia trigger. I think this deck's a little short on green mana. I think one of these mountains and probably one of these Mox Ambers should be like 2 mana confluences. Our sideboard seemed fine. We haven't really had a use for Revoker, Cage, or Xenagos yet, but I could see where we want those cards. The collateral damage not being able to kill Llanowar was kind of awkward, so I could potentially see those just supposed to be wild slashes. I think that's one of the issues with this deck is you have to play a bunch of things that synergize together, so sometimes they just like clunk together instead of synergize, which can be awkward for an aggro deck. Like when everything works for this deck, it's really powerful, but when it doesn't, it gets awkward. Like this is the best hand we've had all day. And we're stopped immediately. So we go Zergo. Mox Amber. Beaumont Courier. Pass. Alright, I think we shock in the Stomping Ground. Cast Gallia. Then we go to combat. We'll collateral damage the knight, sacking our Gallia. And then we'll get in. Get a card under the Beaumont. Opponent plays Mutavault. And then passes. We'll play this Stomping Ground tapped. That was a mistake. I'm so used to this card costing 2 mana. I was thinking that it just actually costed 2 mana. And the Surge was just the effect, but the Surge actually reduces it by 1. That was super awkward. If I just played Mountain, we could attack with Beaumont this turn. Yeah. We should have just like gotten to turn a land into another card. Have any good attacks, unfortunately. I think this deck does suffer from like the problem a lot of the Gruul decks do, which is you really, like, we don't have really good removal. Like, we just don't have a way to deal with this Murderous Rider, even if we were playing, like, optimal cards. Not really what we were looking for. How do we get back into this? Yeah, I don't really see like how we actually win this game. This deck just seems really weak against other creatures. Take 4 here. Which lets their Knight pump, unfortunately. Yeah. I don't really see us getting out of this game. We'll just go on to the next one and see if our matchup gets any better post-sideboard. Rending Volley doesn't do anything here. Come on. Cage seems okay. Searing Blood seems good. Cinder Vines does not seem good. Revoker doesn't seem great. Xenaghost doesn't really seem like... I don't think we really want to try to outgrind this deck. I think this might actually be a matchup where Bomat is actually bad. But we get to be on the play. I think these cages just like aren't what we want to be doing. It's awkward that their best card is a 1/2. Yeah, I think we're going to try it like this. I would like to be on the play. And the old Rootbound Craig is making a hand awkward again. I think we have to mulligan. I don't think we can play a land tapped on one and expect to win. I think this hand has a higher chance of being good. So this hand is... It's basically the same as our first hand where it only had one land, but we get to play our 1-drop on turn 1 with this hand. Opponent plays another Gutter Bones, a Bloodsoaked Champion, and gets in for 2. Yeah, 19 lands is just like not enough for this deck. Guess we play our land, our Burning Tree. Our Carry Zev can actually block pretty well. So I guess we'll put out Carry Zev. It just feels like our creatures are just so much worse than the other monocolored decks. And I think that's kind of the awkward thing about like a red aggressive base deck. When you're not playing like the prowess creatures, your creatures are kind of underwhelming. Like Swiftspear, Soulscar are very good because they grow and can attack and block effectively and do like 2/1s or 1/2s. But when we're playing 2/2s and 2/1s, we really don't get that effective of attacks. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. I'm just gonna take it. I don't really think we have a way to win this game. Yeah, I think one of the flaws of this deck is the very high risk, high reward deck, and we kind of didn't get rewarded for our risks in any of our games. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was a cool deck to try. Definitely don't feel like playing any more games with it. Magic aids the YouTube channel I got this deck from. I know he 4-1'd with it in the league the league he played. But he did say like he could easily see like he went 4-1, but he could easily see people going 1-4 with the deck. And I thought I'd try it because it's a really cool concept and it seemed fun to stream. I think if I were to try this deck again though, where's quantity? There it is. Knock it down to 0. I think this deck definitely needs some mana confluences. Like, I think this is actually just like a land that's very underutilized in the format. I understand like taking life is definitely a downside. But it's one of the things where like these decks have very awkward mana. Because there aren't very good red-green lands. Like, I could even possibly see playing Game Trail if you're really worried about the life loss. And then maybe you play 4 Game Trail, 2 Rootbound Craigs. But yeah, like, that's kind of the problem with these decks is your mana base is really awkward. And, like, is the reward really worth it for, like, Gallia, Atarka's Command, Cindervines, for example? I'm not really sure. I don't think it necessarily is. I also just think, like, your reward for playing Mox Amber is getting ahead on mana to be able to Bushwhacker more often. But all the legendaries are just, like, kind of medium. Like, Gallia's really cool, but you're not actually playing that many Satyrs. Like, one of your big Satyr cards is a 3-drop in your 19-land aggressive deck. So, I also think collateral damage felt pretty bad. I understand the thought behind it to get 3 damage, which I did mention 3 is actually a lot more important than 2. But this not being an actual 1-drop is also super awkward. So, I don't know. I think, putting some mana confluencers, some game trails make your mana base a little bit better, and then maybe try to figure out like what spells and stuff don't actually work in this deck. But yeah, that's just kind of one of the things with this deck. It can be clunky. I think that's about all I have for you guys today. Hopefully next week we'll play something that doesn't lose quite as fast, or lose in general. I know I've been on kind of a losing streak as of late, but hopefully we'll find something to shake that off. momsbasementgames.tcgplayerpro.com is a great place to check out if you're looking to find out where to find the rest of our content on. If you're watching on YouTube, check down in that description box below. You can find all the links that I'm going to be talking about. If you want to check us out on social media, you can find us on Facebook. Give us a like at Mom's Basement Games. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can go to Mom's Basement MTG and give us a follow there. If you go back over to our YouTube channel, you can find other videos we've made for amazing Standard, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Commander, Pauper, Pioneer, Vintage Cube, and limited content. On top of that, if you want to hear more about me, I'm really active on Twitter. I talk about Magic, League of Legends, memes, music, Legends of Runeterra, which I might play some Legends of Runeterra for you guys next week. I know we have the setup for that now, and I really like that game. I've been having a lot of fun with it. So there's a chance I stream some Runeterra for you guys tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but next week. You'll hear about it on social media. So if you're looking for other forms of social media, you can find us on Mom's Basement Games on Instagram, or you can find me on Instagram at RichieT2196. And with that, I think I'm gonna go put this deck to rest and just kind of chill out. I'll talk to you guys and see you later.